Hey everyone, Bowser the Healer here, and welcome to the PUG Healing Guides. Today, we're going to be talking about healer damage. So, healer damage is pretty important in Mythic Plus, especially as you start moving into the 13s and 15s and beyond. Your damage actually contributes quite a bit to two factors in a dungeon: priority targets and time save. Priority targets is a pretty easy concept. Sometimes there's a very spooky ad, or a boss fight has an ad in particular, or a mechanic that you have to do damage for. The crystals in the Azure Vault, for instance, on the last boss is a great example of this, or the saboteurs in the No-Coup Defensive with the Stone Dragon. You have to do this mechanic, and if you can help contribute to it, you can get the DPS off of that target and back onto fighting just the boss. And, of course, clearing the mechanic will keep your team alive. While this is a DPS job, both the scenarios I describe involve low healing output. You're not in a situation where there's a lot of incoming damage, so doing damage here is actually a pretty good use of your time because most players won't be taking more damage in a moment. But the big reason we do damage is time save. So, time save is everything, because if players are dying, or if there are mistakes in the run, or if the key is simply hard and there's not enough damage in the party, you're not going to make it to the end. So any amount of time save can cover mistakes, cover missing damage, and hopefully help all of you clear the dungeon in time. Now, just to make sure my math was correct, I ended up having a friend do 2 pulls, one AoE, one single target, and then once alone and once with me. And I did relatively 50% of the damage in both the pulls. And what do you know? The timer cut in half for both of those pulls. Now, so the AoE pull went from 2 minutes to 1 minute, and the single target went from 1 minute to 30 seconds. So if we take our overall damage and we apply it to the in-combat time, we should get our relative time save. And I did a Halls of Valor recently that was a 20. We cleared it with flying colors. It was very fast, pull after pull, and my damage was actually a little lower than I'm used to. I did 5.7% of the overall damage, and our in-combat time was 27 minutes and 19 seconds. So 5.7% of that is about 1 minute and 33 seconds, which is a considerable amount of time save. If you actually think about how much time you spend in a dungeon and all of the little mistakes that can add up, you can cover a lot of those mistakes as a healer. And this isn't me sweating trying to get damage out. This is me being a proper healer, keeping everyone alive, and in my downtime, finding places to do some damage. The other form of time save is a little harder to track, and I'll do my best to explain this one. And you might have heard this in one of my other videos, but it's not in a PUG healing guide. So I want to make sure it's here, but it's evening out health bars. So in Mythic Plus, a lot of groups are going to be AoE focused, and maybe you have someone who does cleave or better single target than the others, but it's the single target and sometimes the healer's job to even out the health bars, because let's say there's 5 mobs and they're all being AoE down, but when after 4 of them die, there's 1 half health remaining mob that was stronger than the rest of them. Well, now all of your AoE players, your tank and I don't know, maybe your 2 windwalkers or whatever you have, are now stuck doing single target. I mean, their single target's okay, right? Like, it's passable, but ultimately now you're wasting the time that these players could be blasting an AoE doing single target. So if we can help reduce those health bars down with other players to even out the packs the best we can, that means less time for AoE centric group to be focused on single target, which also helps with timers. This is something that I hear is pretty important in higher keys like 24s and 25s, but not so much in the 15s category. But it is a nice skill to learn, and it can be fun to notice where you might be able to contribute. Like, oh hey, I can do some damage, that target has more health, I'll do more damage to that target. Yes, now you're saving even more time because you're probably helping the party clear more efficiently as well as contributing damage. So then you might be asking yourself, how do I put more damage in? Where do I put it? Well, the easiest part is, like I just said, the end of a pack. This is simple because there's less incoming damage, there's less mobs alive, you should be able to start freely blasting. But also, I like to do it at the start of a pull when the tank's going to be their most healthy. I'll drop my dots or I'll drop my initial burst before I start preparing some heals. Now this obviously depends on what class you're playing and the type of healer, because there are healers that do damage to heal, and they sort of bypass a lot of this talk because they have to go in there and do damage anyway. But every single healer does it differently. The main advice I can give you is all about weaving, making sure that between your heals you do damage. If everyone's about to be topped off after your next spell, then go swap to doing damage. If you know no incoming damage is going to be happening, then feel free to swap to damage. And then as the incoming damage comes in, you should be able to react to it and start healing. You might have remembered me talking about reactable healing in my triage video, and that is exactly why that's so important. Unreactable things you need to heal are not necessarily your problem. So make sure you're prepared to the best of your ability, but ultimately you can do damage until someone's health bar goes down, and then you can start worrying about if it's important to push it up or not. However, there are a lot of specializations in World of Warcraft, and I don't think I could go through every healer and how they do their damage right now, so I'll leave that to the respective class specialists to help you out. I will definitely be making a preservation guide on doing damage, so make sure you keep your eyes open for that one. But ultimately, even if you're just pressing a basic single target button or a basic AoE button, you're helping. And I know that's a bit of a meme, but honestly, any amount of time save is helping more than no time save. If you're new to healing, this will come in time. Honestly, make sure you're playing the game, you're getting your healing rotations down, and you'll end up learning where there's some downtime. So just start pressing some damage buttons in. As it becomes a little more clear when you can do damage, then maybe start worrying about optimizing it. But that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please get subscribed if you want more content like this, and otherwise, I'll see you all next time in another PUG healing guide or some commentary. I'll see you soon.